How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Well, today I wanted to do something that's kind of a landmark for here on K6 Outdoors. Well, 1 year ago and 100 hours ago, I picked up this Mahindra Max 26 XLT, or well, I guess for that matter, it was delivered to my house. And I thought, well, why not? It's freezing cold outside. It's -4 right now. Air temp, that's without the wind chill, right? And obviously here in Iowa, we always talk wind chill because it's always worse when it's windy, which it is, right? So since it's cold out, I want to take an opportunity here at the heated shop to kind of show you guys the issues I've had with this, meaning the maybe points to watch out for, some defects this tractor may or may not have had, and then give you kind of my thoughts. Would I still recommend Mahindra? Is it still a good investment? And kind of go from there. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the stuff that I've had problems with. Point out a few of the different points, maybe to look out and watch for, and then we'll go from there. So one of the first things that happened to me when I was using the loader is these came loose. You'll see some bolt heads down in there. It came loose. One of these lines came loose and started spraying hydraulic fluid everywhere. I always carry an adjustable wrench, or a crescent wrench, you may wonder. Always keep it over here in the toolbox because you never know, something may go wrong. And again, tractors are a piece of equipment. Things do come loose because things are rattling, shaking, moving around. But I got an assortment of tools down in here to keep just in case something goes wrong. Again, things rattle, shake, move, and so you never know, bolt could come loose. So I've tightened that back up since. I've had no more problems with this coming loose, but that's something to keep an eye on. Something else I had a problem with was my float function not working. This handle, when you push it forward, it's supposed to click and then allow the pressure off the loader. So there's no hydraulic pressure, so the bucket can float. And mine wouldn't click into float. Again, not a big issue. It was just a quick adjustment. By adjusting these down here, you can adjust that tension and the length of those metal cables inside there, and then that issue was resolved. The dealer did some adjustments to it, and now we're in operating shape and haven't had a problem since. So just another thing to keep an eye out for. The biggest problem I had was where my rear hubs meet the rear housing of the tractor, where the wheel hubs bolt in here, as well as the lift chest on top, which is where the 3-point arms attach to. I came into my garage one day, and I always check underneath of it, and I noticed a pool of hydraulic fluid. Well, like, that's not good. I mean, not a pool, right? We're talking maybe a quarter size. But it had been sitting for a few days, and I always check to make sure because, you know, again, I always check my fluids and I always look for pending issues on the ground. So what I found, or you can see down in here, but you can see there's some gray gasket sealer down in here. This was seeping where this meets the transfer case back here, your housing, whatever you want to call it. So there, and then up here on top, you'll see where the top lift chest. So the top lift chest here is where the 3-point arms connect. Down in there, you'll see some more gray sealant. That was leaking there as well. So seeping, right? We're not talking a significant amount. It was seeping enough to collect dust, and then potentially every once in a while there'd be a drip. So I let the dealer know about it. They brought it in, took it all apart, degreased it, put new sealant on it, and not been a problem since. Sounds like there's been some issues in the factory of not allowing the sealant to cure enough before everything gets bolted tight and torqued. At least they've seen it a couple times. Again, not a huge deal. They fixed it under warranty, and everything's all hunky-dory in that case, and no harm, no foul. I was without the tractor for a couple of days, but it was fine. If it would have been longer, they would have brought me one to use. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Make sure that's not seeping, and if it is, get it taken care of before you run a warranty. These have a nice 2-year bumper-to-bumper on them, and then you have the 7-year powertrain on everything else. So make sure you pay attention to that, and you know, speak up if something doesn't seem right. And if you have a good dealer that's, you know, not selling lawnmowers and actually selling ag equipment, they'll get you taken care of with their diesel mechanics. They know what they're doing. The next issue I had was my rear left tire. Again, this really wasn't Mahindra's fault. They don't supply the tires. They get them from Track Chief. And oddly enough, they are made in the USA. Good, bad, and different. That's how it is. I noticed some weird things, and that's not like I was abusing this. I wasn't driving on anything wrong or bad or whatever, but you see here, all along this profile, there are chunks of rubber coming out all around. Anyways, long story short, the tire dealer realized it was wrong, defective, sent me a new one in the mail, took it to the dealer, they mounted it on the rim when they were doing the 50-hour service work, and we've been fine since. So just my luck, must have been a defective tire. Again, not Mahindra's fault, and it's been resolved and haven't had a problem since then. And one last thing that was an issue with this tractor, and it's more of a, I guess, a frustration than a real problem, is I noticed that the tractor was not lifting as much as it should have been. It kind of came about as I was unloading some pallets from a trailer, and I knew how much was on the pallets and how much the tractor's rated for at the pivot pins. On the Max 26 XLT, at the pivot pins here, it's supposed to lift just a hair over 1,400 pounds. I realize that the pallet forks really reduce your lift capacity, and especially your curling, right? Pallet forks have a lot of extra leverage on them because the farther the load is out in front of the pivot pins, the less you can lift, the less you can curl. So I know there were some things in there that, you know, mathematically just didn't make sense, even though I know pallet forks make things worse. Something wasn't lifting correctly, and I had to get to the root cause of it. I let the dealer know what was going on, and I had been following some people on Facebook, and there were some reports of issues like this as well. And I reached out to somebody else who had a Max 26 XLT and found out that hydraulic pressure was likely the culprit. I let the dealer know. They brought it in, got couplers, did some checking. It was coming in around 1,850 PSI, which the book recommends around 2,100 PSI. So, you know, it was low, right? A couple hundred PSI makes a big difference on a system like this and on the cylinder. It makes a big difference, you know, on these cylinders. They're not that huge to begin with, but the little bit of just every PSI increase makes a difference on how they perform, as well as, you know, when it bypasses. So what did they do? Right here is a set screw and a nut. So what they're able to do was loosen that nut and then tighten that set screw in, take it farther in to increase the hydraulic pressure. In some instances that won't be enough. If it's not running as high as it should be or something's way off, they may have to shim the actual hydraulic pump itself. But in my situation, they were able to adjust it here by loosening that nut, tightening that set screw, and brought it up to the manufacturer's recommended spec there for pressure. And now since that's been adjusted, I've had no real issues. Another thing I noticed too is I wasn't able to break the rear tires loose in low gear. So after doing all that, it resolved that issue. I had plenty of power. I can lift enough on the front end now to where it will pick the rear end off the ground with no ballast, which wouldn't do it before. And with the proper ballast, I can lift basically, you know, up to the recommended specs now, or a little bit above. So it's all working as intended now. And obviously, when you're doing things with the loader, make sure you're using ballast. There's many reasons for that and why ballast is important. So that's been my Mahindra experience. It's been a really positive one. People have had some negative ones as well. And I think a lot of it links back to the dealer network and their dealer support, right? Every tractor is going to have issues. Doesn't matter if it's green, red, orange, brown, blue, purple, rainbow. They're all going to have problems. It's just a matter of how often you may have problems and how well it's supported when you do have issues, right? My Mahindra has been great. It's good enough that my in-laws decided they'd like to buy one as well. And, you know, they had heard the same thing I had about being built heavy duty and being a good tractor for the money, right? So my Mahindra experience has been great. This is the issues I've had so far. At my 99.3 hour mark on this tractor, I have added a few things, you know, the lights above me here, and then I changed out the toolbox with an ammo can on this side. That's really been my biggest modifications. I am working on some 3D printed components to help make it a better user experience on the tractor. But a bare bones workhorse, this thing's done a great job. Probably moved 100 ton or more worth of rock with it, and I've moved a lot of dirt in the gardens. I've tilled several gardens up, and have had no major breakdowns, right? Just aside from the few small things I told you about, maybe we'll call the rear axle hub leaking more of a, we'll call a medium-sized issue. Again, it would work fine like that probably forever, but you shouldn't have hydraulic fluid leaking out of a new tractor, and that's probably my biggest concern. So like I just showed you, obviously I had a few issues with this tractor over the last year. Nothing's ever left me stranded. But I think the biggest thing out of all this, and when people are asking about which brand to buy, I think the most important thing, and you'll ask anybody else that probably agree, is to make sure you have a good dealer support network. My local dealer is great. They do a great job. Any little problem I've had, they've got me in as quick as they could. And if there was a situation that I couldn't have it, within so much, if I had to have it for a long time, I couldn't have it, and they had to have it in the shop, they're willing to bring me a tractor the same size at their expense so I can use one and have one on the property. Same thing happened when I first got this. The tractor wasn't in the United States, and there was a supply issue of getting them here. And so when I bought my tractor, they brought me one similar like it that was on the lot, and I used it till mine showed up. So that was extremely important, right? As far as the other issues that are concerned, this tractor's never left me stranded. And I think that's the most important part is, tractors are pieces of equipment and they need to be maintained and taken care of. Again, this more so falls on people taking care of themselves, unlike automobiles. Yes, that's very similar in regards to the mechanical aspects of them, but a lot more people take their cars in to get worked on, and tractors maybe not so much. So again, being proactive and paying attention to the maintenance intervals, and then getting things greased as needed and cleaning up things and keeping things in operating tip-top shape is most important here. So I still recommend this tractor. Of course I would. It's been one of the best purchases I've ever made. This Mahindra tractor is a Mitsubishi tractor, and it's a really, really well-built tractor. It's started every time I've asked it to. It's never left me stranded. It's never died in the yard. And any issue that I've had has either been quickly fixed or it's been taken to the shop and been gone for a couple of days, and it's really not a big deal. But Mahindra stood by their warranty, and I haven't paid a dime out of pocket for any of the repairs to occur. And what was nice too is my dealer actually performs the first service at their expense, meaning they provide the labor, I just pay for the fluid. So it was kind of nice. It cut the expense down significantly. It was only a couple $100 to service the entire tractor at its first 50-hour mark. So hope you guys found this video informative. Don't be afraid to ask, to put some comments down below if you have more questions about this specific tractor. Like I said, I've got a year's worth of seat time now, and I've also driven one of the bigger Mahindras, the 2638 that my in-laws own, and it's a lot bigger tractor for one, but I still, for my property use, this is the perfect size for my property, and I have no regrets buying this tractor. So if you guys have any questions on this tractor, feel free to put some stuff down in the comments below. I'd love to have a conversation with you on it. I highly recommend it. It's been a really good tractor for me, and I foresee this being around for quite some time, unless for some reason I get some big acreage and I upgrade to a larger one. So, but again, I take care of a couple acres. It does a good job. I think if you had, if you were, depending on what you wanted to do, 8 acres, 10 acres probably would be even fine. All right, just depends on what you want to do. Just remember, the smaller the tractor, the longer it's going to take you to get things done that a bigger tractor could do as well. So the Max plays above its weight class all the time, and like I said, it's always done every task I've asked it to within reason, and I'm going to be more happy with my purchase. So if you guys liked today's video, hit that like button. If you're not part of the YouTube family, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell so you get notifications when I post more videos, and I'll catch you on the next one.